first off, who is Miss Jabbari? Well, up here earlier, and when I read this, I had to stop and take a pause and think about it. It says that Miss Jabbari was a professional dancer. So, my man. What's going on, guys? It's Raiderlance, and I am here by myself today because, well, I screwed up. So last weekend, Fighter Wither and I recorded about 2 hours of content, and because of technical difficulties, couldn't salvage any of it. But we found a solution. Should not be happening again in the future, but he couldn't make it this weekend. So I'm going to do an update to everything that's happened with Mr. Jonathan Majors, the actor, Kang the Conqueror. And unfortunately, IEG, who did the first video on this with me, is pretty preoccupied with work. He has about another month under his belt on this huge project. But then after that, things are going to go beautiful for him. He'll be able to focus down on the podcast and bring you some more of his great content, specifically through his video editing. So, housekeeping. Please like, share, subscribe. We know we've been putting episodes out at a snail's pace. We are going to get better. Thank you so much for your patience and your support. Also, though, why don't you check us out on our Instagram page? We don't have as many subscribers over there. We got some great memes, some funny stories, a little bit of commentary. So we probably update that a lot quicker and more than we do our YouTube channel for now. Hopefully our YouTube will be getting out a lot more stuff in the near future. Okay, so Mr. Majors had a little scuffle with his probably ex-girlfriend at currently, and it was a domestic dispute, most likely because Mr. Majors got one of his bench warmers was asking to be put back in his rotation, and she sent that text message. Well, he was out on the town with his current girlfriend, and a little scuffle obviously happened after that. So we want to just give you, just want to give you a little update to everything that has happened, a little bit more about the case. So first article we're going to talk about is this article from The Vulture, and it says everything Jonathan Majors has been dropped from. Of course, there has been fallout. Again, he is only charged. It's very preliminary. They're still doing the investigations. He has a couple court appearances. He hasn't been convicted, so he's innocent until been proven guilty. And you can see why this is a bit of a messy case. But unfortunately, brands and companies are trying to protect themselves. So he's been losing out a lot of opportunities. If you don't know much about this man, he's one of the hottest actors in Hollywood. He's coming out with tons of movies lately. He's on a ton of projects. He's the face of certain companies. And now he's slowly getting dropped from a lot of things. So again, let's go into this article. Alleged domestic assault on March 26th. He has hired an attorney, Ms. Chaudhry, and Mr. Majors keep on professing his innocence. Mr. Majors is scheduled for another court appearance on May 8th. This happened in New York. It sounds like it's the Manhattan area district. Not too sure about that. Let's see all the parties who have broken ties with him. So first off, his management team. I don't know much about actors, but from my understanding, a little bit of the stuff I've heard, that when your management team or your agent cut ties with you, it's pretty bad. So here, Mr. Majors was reportedly dropped from his management team at Entertainment 360 and his PR team at the lead company. So that's a really bad sign. The Vulture, the news organization, I guess, reached out for comment and did not sound like anybody was trying to respond to those comments. Or to those inquiries, I should say. All right, so film and television roles. Several projects in development have dropped Mr. Majors from their cast, according to Deadline, another journal. The magazine-dreamed actor will no longer star in the film adaptation of Walt Mosley's novel of The Man in My Basement, or considered for the unannounced 5th season's Otis Redding biopic, Otis and Selma. As for the projects that Majors named is still attached to, there's still The Avengers, Kang Dynasty, coming out in 2025, Loki Season 2, and Spike Lee's The Understudy. Also, it sounds like he's still attached to Lionsgate's 48 Hours in Vegas, where he's going to be playing Dennis Rodman. So, sounds like he's been dropped from a couple film and television roles, but the MCU, he's still slated to do those things. All right, now brand deals. I know we talked last time he was dropped from the U.S. Army commercial campaign, advertising campaign. Also, the MLB Texas Rangers, didn't know he was attached to them, but they have removed Majors from their 2023 season ad campaign that was reportedly set to debut on Friday. Also, the brand Valentino and Mr. Majors have also mutually agreed that the actor will no longer attend this year's Met Gala. Lastly, a nonprofit Mr. Majors is stepping down from the Gotham Film and Media Institute board and its Sidney Poitier initiative. So there's quite a few from the hottest star. That many people separating ways. That cannot be a good sign. All right, now let's go into some of the new news that has come out about that night. So this article from the New York Post is going to be is presented from the defense attorney's perspective, Ms. Chaudhry. If it's coming from the defense attorney, it's going to be completely biased. So we need to keep that in mind, that this is one-sided perspective and framing. Not saying the defense attorney or Mr. Rangers are wrong or right, but we just need to know that the way these facts are going to be presented is it will be very skewed. All right. So the article title, Jonathan Majors claims that a new video and witness proved that he did not choke his girlfriend, likely ex-girlfriend. All right. So who is his ex-girlfriend? It is a woman named Grace Jabbari. Okay. Mr. Majors is 33. She is 30. Let's just go ahead and read it. So according to Mr. Major's legal representative, the driver proves that Mr. Major did not hit or choke Ms. Jabbari in any way, at any time, or even raise his voice. All right. Then the attorney says that the driver reported that the female was hitting, scratching, and attacking the actor, and Mr. Majors asked the driver to stop so he could get out and escape from the car. Okay. So first off, who is Ms. Jabbari? Up here earlier, and when I read this, I had to stop and take a pause and think about it. It says that Miss Jabbari was a professional dancer. So, my man. And I had to stop there because I was like, okay, well, this story totally makes sense. And, hey man, good for you. But then let me jump to a different one. Who is Miss Jabbari? And she's a British dancer. She's actually formally trained, went to university to get a degree in this stuff. So, no, she wasn't the type of dancer that, I'm sorry, my PSTD kicked in. I started imagining other scenarios. But no. She's a legit dancer. And they happened to meet on the set of Quantumania because she was a movement coach. So apparently her and Mr. Majors were playing touch butt in a park somewhere. And okay, if you didn't catch that reference, I'm not sure we can be friends. If you don't know what I'm talking about with that joke, go Google or YouTube Conor McGregor touch butt in the park. And you will see that is one of the greatest insults ever rendered to another human being by the world famous Nate Diaz he's the UFC fighter. So you got to stop right here. Go check that out. It's hilarious. Brings me a great amount of joy.
You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park, the ponytail. And I'm the one who ain't got no training partner. I don't think so. You seem to have it all figured out when you're fighting midgets. You got shit.
Bring your training partners in. You're going to need them.
My whole team will fucking beat your whole team's ass. How about that? The JV squad on my team will beat your team's ass.
So yeah, okay, Mr. Majors and Ms. Jabbari touch butt in a park while they were on set doing Quantumania. That's how they met. Likely that's how the relationship started. All right, let's go back to the New York Post article. All right, so Ms. Chaudhry gives a recitation of, what happened in the taxi cab. But then later on that evening in the incident, Ms. Jabbari was spotted in the newly released security camera footage obtained by the New York Post drinking and clubbing while using her right hand, which she later claimed Majors injured prior to them separating for the night. This article basically goes into how Miss Chaudhry is implying that Miss Jabbari was the one doing the assault, and she was so unbothered by all of this, she went out on a night on the town and went to clubbing. So we have security footage, we have pictures, and we have some other stuff we'll show. So the first picture that identifies her, Miss Jabbari, at the nightclub at about 2:33 a.m. on March 25th. Then the next one, we have her at 3 o'clock still in the club or subcellar on the 25th. Then later we have a picture with her and the police at 11:48, I'm assuming PM on March 25th. It's not really clear. Maybe that's when she called the police. You know what? That's probably when she called the police later that morning on the 25th. So she went out, night on town, then decided, go to bed, get a couple hours of sleep, and then call the police. And the caption of that is, Major's lawyer claims the body cam footage from the police shows the officers clearly coaching her, meaning Miss Jabbari, to say that Mr. Majors grabbed her by the throat. Again, we don't have the body cam video. It's just a still image of the video, of the body cam video, I should say. And then there were text messages that were between Miss Jabbari and Mr. Majors that seem, if they are true, seem to present that Miss Jabbari is accepting blame for the incident that happened in the taxi cab. I think we have screenshots of that in another article. TMZ has all the videos and all the text messages. And I think that's it. We just have more pictures of her partying. And we have a nice selfie of Miss Jabbari. So let's go into the next article. Okay. Here is a Daily Mail article. It's entitled, Marvel Jonathan Major called 911 on his girlfriend before he was arrested for assault and harassment. Lawyers claim text messages reveal she used physical force against him and admits it's my fault. So in this UK article, again, they just rehash all the issues, but we get a nice screenshot of some of the text messages between the two. And it is a little hard to read, but I will try to read it. So it looks like the left-hand side is Miss Jabbari, and it says, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that they won't be charged. They said that they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. So I'm angry that they did, and I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you. And then there's, more text messages. So if this is true, this is somebody taking fault for the escalation. From a legal sense or from a prosecutor's position, that doesn't necessarily absolve any assault from occurring. In other words, you have these situations in domestic violence where the victims always take the blame. So her admitting it was her fault might not necessarily absolve Mr. Majors. Whether it should or it shouldn't, it's one of those weird situations where when you have so many victims alleging something, then recanting, I don't want to say that prosecutors can't trust the victims, but sometimes they have to go out on their own accord. So from my perspective, this does help the defense. It does show that Ms. Jabbari probably will not cooperate with the prosecutors or the district attorney, but that doesn't mean that now charges will be dropped and she'll be charged for the assault, right? It makes it more complicated, might not make it worth the prosecutor's time in this sense. So who knows? All right, let's go to the next article, and it's from People. And it says, Jonathan Majors dropped from 2 movie projects, multiple brand deals following his arrest. And again, it recites again all the things that he had been dropped. And I found it interesting because, again, they specifically said, as noted by multiple outlets, Major still appears to be involved with Marvel Studios' upcoming Loki Season 2, as well as the Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. So it sounds like Marvel or Disney is probably the most secure projects that he has, because they said that multiple outlets have reported that. Okay, so let's real quickly get into recent news that for LA Times article, Jonathan Majors' accuser gets full temporary protective order ahead of the court date. Now that sounds like a really bad article. Oh my God, we have a restraining order against him. Oh, he's a menace to this woman. What is he doing to her? Is he threatening her? Is he blackmailing her? You know, what's going on here? Well, it sounds really bad and it isn't good, but it is a little bit of an inflammatory headline. And let's explain why. So, a New York judge granted full temporary order of protection Thursday for the woman who accused Jonathan Majors of assaulting her in late March. The order came per the people's request, so that means the prosecutor, the district attorney, and with the consent of the defense counsel. So they agreed to this. A spokesperson for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office told the Times in a statement. All right. Temporary protective orders are common in domestic violence cases and must be renewed at each court hearing. During Major's arraignment in March, the judge granted a limited order and is still allowed the actor to remain in contact with the woman, according to the district attorney's office. This full order requires Mr. Major to stay completely away from the woman and her job, and her home, job, or school. So, wanted to look in a little bit. I've been in court where restraining orders were issued. There's a big difference between a temporary and a permanent, but I found this article because, again, I'm not a New York attorney. Found this article where they kind of explain and answer some questions. A New York attorney, specifically a former Manhattan prosecutor, explains what goes into granting a restraining order. Is it that Mr. Majors is some massive threat? Is it that he's, still trying to contact her all the time? Why would they grant this type of thing? And it seems like, and why would the defense counsel agree to it? Okay, so how do you get a restraining order? It's usually through family court or through the court, and it's either called a restraining order or an order of protection. Now, most importantly, what proof and evidence do you need to get a restraining order? Okay, so at the bottom half, it says, and let me see here, a person can also petition a family court judge for an order of protection, in which case the person must file a petition in family court that adequately accuses the other person of committing one of several specific crimes and offenses, such as assault in the third degree, or harassment in the second degree, or menacing in the third degree. And so if we go back to the first video we did on that, Mr. Majors was charged with assault in the third degree and harassment in the second degree. So it kind of, I don't want to say automatic, but it's just baked into the cake in a situation like this. So it would just make sense for the prosecutor to kind of just say, all right, all the elements are going to be met to get this restraining order. It is a situation of domestic dispute, domestic violence. And so we just essentially almost attach these type of restraining orders in these type of cases, and not necessarily through any additional behaviors, actions, speech from Mr. Majors. Now, there could be, right? There absolutely could be, but that's not what's being alleged. That's not what was in the article. And I would think that his defense counsel agreeing to this restraining order, because it sounds really bad, it's baked into the cake. So they just kind of stipulated to that. They just agreed because they were going to lose any fight. Now, it is temporary. I don't know the term limit of temporary restraining orders in New York. It does sound like, I'm pretty sure this article stated that every time Mr. Majors appears in court, they essentially have to refile for it. They have to repetition for it, or maybe it was a different article. So it's not a 30-day, a 60-day, it's next time when he appears in court, sometime in May, they're going to have to petition for the restraining order again. The only difference is this is a full, and Mr. Majors can no longer contact her. So, right, so no phone calls, no text messages, stay away from her home. You know what? I might be wrong about the text messages and communications. It just says stay away from her completely from home, job, or school. I could see from a prosecutor's perspective that let's just hypothetically say Mr. Majors did rough her up. and she was the victim. And from the text messages, she wants to get back in his good graces and mend the relationship. From a prosecutor's position, if you want to go after Mr. Majors, then you would want to keep them separated. You wouldn't want them to mend the relationship as much, because if they do mend the relationship, then Miss Jabbari would be less likely to testify, and it'd make the case much, much more difficult. So maybe that's the prosecutor's angles, but in a nutshell, I don't think this protective order is that big of a deal, because it's kind of baked in the cake in the New York district. So, all right, that was a quick update. That's all I have. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your patience. We did have another video on the Hakimi and Mrs. Abuk, the soccer player who just got divorced. A pretty funny scenario. We tried to record that. That's what was lost. I might try to get Friday Wizard back on that, but that's coming up. I know there's a ton of Andrew Tate news. Just to let you know, I did try to ask my prosecutor friend. She asked for permission. She's not. Let's just say they have to be very careful when speaking about ongoing criminal prosecutions and their positions. And so we're still pending approval. That's why I've been holding off on the Andrew Tate stuff. But I think I'm just going to give a general update. And so the Hakimi court case, the Andrew Tate ongoing saga, we're going to talk about that later. So that's what we have on deck. And if you guys have any special requests, any topics you want us to cover, just any general questions for advice, I like giving bad advice all the time. So let us know. We appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And if you are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. Catch you later. Bye.